In this video, we will completely factor 60m squared minus 250m plus 140. The first step in factoring any polynomial is to look for and factor out the greatest common factor. In terms of the variables, the first term has an m squared, the second term has an m, and the third term has no m's, so there's no variable common to all three terms. Looking at the coefficients, 60, negative 250, and a positive 140, all of those are divisible by 10. So the greatest common factor is 10. Our first step of factoring will be to factor out that 10. So we'll bring the 10 outside the parentheses, and 60m squared divided by 10 is 6m squared. Negative 250m divided by 10 is negative 25m. And 140 divided by 10 is a positive 14. So we have 10 times a quantity, 6m squared minus 25m plus 14. For the remainder of the work, the 10 will simply sit in front of any future step that we do. Now looking at what is left inside the parentheses, we have a trinomial. Not only is it a trinomial, it is a trinomial whose leading coefficient is not 1. So we will choose to use the AC method. The AC method says we're going to take the A, the leading coefficient, and the C, the constant term, and multiply them. 6 times 14 is 84. We're now going to make a table of factor pairs. The first column will be the factors of 84, and the second column will be the sum of those factor pairs. Before we start looking for factor pairs of 84, we're going to pause and think about the signs. 84 is a positive number, and we're looking for two numbers that multiply to make a positive number. They must be the same sign. When we then look at the middle term, the b value, we have a negative 25. If the numbers have to be the same sign to multiply to make a positive, but they're going to add to make a negative, both numbers must be negative. So we'll only look for negative factor pairs of 84. The first factor pair would be negative 1 times negative 84. But negative 1 plus negative 84 is a negative 85. Negative 2 times negative 42 is also 84, but that adds up to make negative 46. Negative 3 times negative 28 is also negative 84, but negative 3 plus negative 28 is negative 31. In our factor pairs, we do seem to be getting closer to the sum we want of negative 25, but we're still not quite there. Another factor pair of 84 is negative 4 and negative 21. Negative 4 plus negative 21 is negative 25. So that is the factor pair that we need. To make use of this factor pair to factor the trinomial, you want to remember that the AC method really relies upon the grouping approach. And to use the grouping approach, we're going to take that middle term, that negative 25m, and we're going to split it apart into a negative 4m and a negative 21m. So we'll take that 6m squared minus 25m plus 14 and rewrite it as 6m squared minus 4m minus 21m plus 14. Now that we have four terms inside the parentheses, we can now use our grouping approach. To factor this by grouping, we will group the first two terms together, 6m squared minus 4m. We will group the second two terms together, negative 21m plus 14, and we will make sure that there is explicitly addition between the two groups. We then look at the first group. 6m squared minus 4m has a common 2m. If we factor the 2m out, we will be left with 3m minus 2. Looking at the back group, there is a common factor of 7. But knowing that I need the front term to be a positive 3m to match the 3m in the first group, I recognize I need to factor out a negative 7. And if I factor out negative 7 from positive 14, it will leave me with a negative 2. We know we're on the right track with this grouping approach if each of the groups has had a common factor and what's remaining in parentheses from both groups is identical. Since both those groups do have a 3m minus 2, we can factor that off and write down the remaining pieces, 2m minus 7, giving us a factored version of 10 times the quantity 3m minus 2 times the quantity 2m minus 7.